The developer checklist.
It's amazing what you can do with games now, and still advancements are being made, but it's the little things that, when done right, give the player a lot of joy. Things we just kind of expect, and we bemoan their absence. Here is a list of simple to implement stuff to do with games.
Give us the mouse we know and love.
We're at our desktop most of the time. Some games don't think this type of mouse access is good enough, and apply a different filter to the mouse. This generally results in an unpleasant experience of wondering why the cursor moves at a different rate in game and responds slower than it otherwise does. Can we just use the underlying OS's mouse stuff, please?
Less control options are not more.
So you've finished a game with controller support, and you're doing the port to PC. But PC users use their mouse and keyboard. So you do extra work and specifically disable the controller support, change the UI, and then you're done. Why? Why not do the UI and have that enabled when the user specifies their controls as mouse and keyboard, but let them use the controller if they want? It's not like you can't use a controller on a PC. Some of us quite like it, especially if you have a control mechanism that lends itself to a pad. Conversely, why assume that a console owner hates the keyboard and mouse? Why go to the trouble of disabling keyboard and mouse support? They might want to use it. We may even like to use the in-game console rather than having to restart a game. Let us change the controls. Let us remap buttons. It isn't that hard. Some, well, a lot actually, of us are left-handed and may even want to use the number pad.
Skippable and pausable cutscenes.
To an extent, I don't mind unskippable cutscenes that you are contractually obligated to do, like the adverts at the beginning of a game, or what licensed middleware you're using. I like to see when a game is using Vorbis, it turns me on. However, some cutscenes are long, and the phone rings or the door gets a knock, and again, why not? At least make them pausable. I know it's possible, and it can't be that hard, and it is really very nice if you can tap a button, or hell, two buttons, a menu that lets you skip or pause, because you don't want to skip a scene by accident after all.
Colorblind options.
Either avoid the need for the option by using colour differentiation in addition to, say, pattern, or just allow an option to switch colours. This one could be tougher if you do it as an afterthought, but if you plan with it in mind, it isn't so bad. Too many people are colourblind for you to ignore it.
Real widescreen support.
Yes, that does mean horizontal plus rather than vertical minus. I'm looking at you, Unreal Engine. Not stretching HUDs is always good too. Think about it this way. One eye is about 4 by 3. Two eyes are 16 by 9. When you have one eye closed and you open the other, can you see more to the sides or less vertically? You want me to see less of your beautifully rendered game engine?
Subtitles that tell you what is being said and when it's being said.
War. War never changes.
Some of us live near other people, and whilst it would be nice to play a game at cinema volume, this is not always practical. But we still want to know what is being said. Lots and lots of games now have a subtitles option, and this is a very positive development. But for some reason, and I don't quite understand why, not all of the dialogue will be subtitled. Heck, even when all of it is subtitled, the game can have the infuriating habit of not subtitling crosstalk. You know when a bit of dialogue starts during another, and then instead of just stacking the subtitle, it just stops the first and proceeds with the next? Films have managed it for years. Yes, even films made by very small startups. Think about having them on by default if you lack an option for narrowing the dynamic range of volume in your title. I have no idea why some subtitles in games are way after or way before the dialogue is spoken. Fix it. Speaking of volume...
Volume normalisation.
This is where the dynamic range of a soundtrack is kept, but the loudest end is set to a predetermined value. So quiet is still quiet, and loud is still loud, but the loudest is below the threshold of distortion. Imagine you're watching TV, and the ad break starts and you reach for the remote control, because adverts are louder than programs. If they were normalised, ads would be the same volume as programs. They just do it to grab your attention. Well, we've already got the game. Making us reach for the remote control now is just an annoyance. There are already free open source tools you can put all of your sound files through, which will find your loudest track and turn down the others accordingly. When I put in one game, and then another, the loudest of the loud explosions in each of those games should all be at the same volume. This also has the nice side effect of always making your sound crisp, undistorted, and keeping the punch of percussive sound since you no longer need to limit and compress everything.
Anyone wearing your face. I was told you're the person to talk to.
Vertical sync.
Just a little option. Some of us find screen tear jarring, and would rather not have a horizontal line on the screen where the bottom half is the last frame and the top is moved on. Yes, we'd even sacrifice an entire half frame and put up with the extra 8 milliseconds of input lag to avoid it.
No downloadable content included on the disc.
What I mean by this is the recent and hopefully short-lived habit of developers to put stuff on the disc that is locked and can only be unlocked with a purchase. This isn't what I feel most gamers mean when they talk about wanting DLC. The point is for some post-purchase support in a game. Putting it on the disc and then selling an unlock code just seems like a cynical exploitation of gaming, and we have enough of those already. It feels like when we buy a game, we aren't getting the full game, we're just getting a locked down version. This is a separate issue to pre-order bonuses, which are fine to me, since it is just a little reward, but not whole sections of gameplay.
Online distribution and management.
Pick one. I mean, seriously, pick one. The two I have the most experience with are Live and Steam. They're both great and cover everything, security, purchase, so why would you want to use both at the same time? For different bits. It's just annoying. If I buy a game from Steam, it's just plain awkward and annoying to then manage a bit of that sale that Steam can manage through Live, or vice versa.
Meaningful difficulty settings.
Gameplay cannot be replaced by difficulty, and have the labels mean something. Here's a short guide to difficulty. Easy should be easy for the average player. Medium should be in between easy and hard for the average player. Hard should be hard for the average player to play incomplete. Being able to change difficulty on the fly is nice, but not necessary. Consider making the difficulty settings change how hard a game is, rather than just the combat. Hard difficulty is never, ever a replacement for gameplay and fun.